Here with your Toronardo colt. Today is his third ride. He's going really nicely. When he first came in to me, when we were doing the day one sort of desensitizing with a stick and bag and different tools we use here, he was a little bit defensive, very suspect with stick and bag. He was quick to kick out at it if you sort of brought it towards him too soon. You had to be careful of where you position yourself, just in case you got tangled up in him trying to defend himself from the bag if you thought the bag was coming at him. He was very good with his back legs, and he's a very big, strong horse. Whilst that sounds dramatic, all it was him just unsure of the plastic bag and the stick, which I use as a desensitizing tool. And he would, like I said, if it got sort of too close to him before he was understanding of it, or before you desensitize him to that point of being able to get it closer, he'll just sort of kick out and be quite reactive towards it. He's gotten a lot better now. Like everything's a process. So, you know, whilst at the start he was quite, like I said, sort of concerned about it, defensive of it. Now he's sort of getting a little bit better. Today's Monday, so he's had had Sunday off. And when they have Sunday off and haven't been handled for a day and just had a bit of an easier sort of day, they can come back in when you start to handle them. They can be just that little bit more touchy than what they would be if you handled them or worked them as normal the day before. So he was a little bit touchy with his plastic bag just then, but as you can see, you know, he's quite good with this desensitizing tool. The reason why we use a plastic bag at the end of the stick, it might look like something that, like, you know, when you're going to come across a plastic bag on the end of the stick, but what it is, it's an object that moves in a strange way, makes a strange noise, and is quite foreign. So we want to desensitize our horses and have them comfortable with objects that do exactly that, look foreign, move in a strange way, and make a strange sort of noise. So when the horse is introduced to a different environment, whether it's a different type of saddle, wants to get chucked on his back, or a different sort of rug, or he's in a new place and something he doesn't recognise is sort of thrown at him or chucked at him, either on purpose or by accident, just through something the handler might accidentally do. We don't want our horses to all of a sudden get a fright and either kick out at it or do something dramatic. So we want our horses to be understanding that things that move and make a noise and sound strange can actually touch them and move around them, and not to be afraid of it. What it also does is get me into a situation where I can touch the horse all over his body, using the stick as an extension of my arm, see if there's any touchy spots down around his legs, his girth, his flanks, behind his elbows, at the front of his legs, and just have him sort of happy with me touching him there, and have me understand if there's any touchy spots on his body that I need to work on before I put my hand down there and my head closer to his body where I can actually get hurt if he happens to have a dramatic response. So like I said, today, third ride, I'm going to do some quick ground work with him where I just work on his ground handling, which will help him being handled in the stables, and it will help me throughout the breaking process as we move on. What it also does is give the horse a task and have him understand that I can control his feet and move his body. And it also gets his attention on me and has him sort of respect what I'm asking him to do. I'll saddle him up, move him out with the saddle so he can feel the saddle, feel the girth, be comfortable with that on his back as he's cantering around before I get on. And then I'll jump on and we'll have a written video of me riding him in here as well. So at the end of the video, I'll sort of summarise how I found him, how today's session went, what his work will look like for the rest of the week, and how I found him physically and what he's like as a horse and his personality. So if you want to skip through to that, you can watch the end part of the video and hear my summary, or you can watch him under saddle now as I ride him around the round yard. And if he all goes well, we might even take him out into the arena and do some his first ride outside the round yard. So I'll just move him around here for a little bit, and we'll saddle him up and we'll get on. Okay, that ride went really nicely. How he is as a horse, in his personality. Like I said, early on he was quite suspect of the things I was introducing him to, but come to terms with him really nicely. We kept sort of persisting with that, kept working him through the process, and he's really good with it now. Attitude he's got a really nice attitude as far as he wants to learn, he wants to do the right thing. You ask him to depart in here, who's just a tad sticky-footed, but he's had a few rides now, so he's starting to get a little bit dull to the cues at different times. So, you know, he's up for now definitely going outside into the arena and having a good ride. I'll give him a good ride outside tomorrow. We'll only do a very short ride in here, and then we'll get him out onto a surface that's a little bit easier for him to move through. And out in the open, it'll sort of wake him up a little bit more because there's a lot more stimulus around, and just get him sort of moving out forwards. That's it. You know, we just sort of kept the ride sort of short here. It didn't sort of take much for him just to knock up a little bit and look to have a break, which is fine. Like I said, the sand in here is quite heavy. He's had a few rides now, so he's sort of just getting a little bit complacent with the cues here and there, and you know, the work sort of got on top of him a little bit. We're at week sort of 1 and a bit now. So getting him outside, getting him amongst a new environment, a bit more stimulus will sort of wake him up again, and being in an open space, he'll sort of move out nice and freely, a bit more freely, and we'll get him sort of following the fence out there, the rail, and we'll get him going through the centre of the arena, and just getting him doing some nice, longer, more open area sort of loping sort of drills, more steering, more stopping, get him understanding the cues a bit better, and just refining his riding. But all in all, he's doing everything really nicely. Physically, he's a really nice horse. He's a nice, strong, big colt, which is obvious to see, but he shows a good level of athleticism in the fact that he can place his legs underneath himself really well. He's got a good awareness of where to place his legs to keep his balance. Like I said, the sand in here, particularly towards the outside of the round yard, is a little bit heavy. You can see him always trying to duck away from the outside wall and sort of come to the inside of the round yard, where it's just a little bit easier going. And he understands sort of standing in the middle of the round yard is generally where the rest is, where he gets to stand still, where I sort of saddle him and where I stop and do a lot of my desensitizing. So he understands that the centre of the round yard is where he can stop and chill out. But like I said, physically a nice horse, nice athleticism, feels really good under saddle. And he's got a nice way of holding himself as well. You know, he's got that strength where he can already start to hold himself nicely. He can do the hindquarter sort of control drills where you're looking to yield his hindquarters, even if it's just a couple of steps early on in his breaking prep. You know, you can sort of look back, yield his hindquarters. He has a strength to sort of step up underneath himself behind really nicely and sort of hold his own body weight really well and keep his balance, particularly with a rider on his back. And he naturally sort of gives to that bridle pressure and pressure in his mouth and to his head collar as well. You know, he's already starting to be very nice and soft and supple, and he's got the strength, like I said before, to hold himself and carrying himself nicely when he starts doing the more sort of complicated sort of steering and hindquarter yielding drills at this stage, where it takes just that little bit more strength to sort of for the horse to step up underneath himself and sort of hold himself together and keep his balance, particularly in this heavier sand. So physically, he's a really nice horse, and mentally, I'm enjoying working with him. I think he's going to be a gentleman in the stables. I think he's going to look to do the right thing all the time. He might have all back. Let's get into this to take a step back away from that wall. Good boy. Now, he might have a little bit of a cheeky way about him at different times, where he'll look to do things his own way, but at the moment, he's got a really good attitude, and he's a more intelligent horse than most in the fact that he remembers the cues you're giving him and teaching him, and what's required when you give him those cues. You teach him those a couple of times, and he remembers it and does everything quite nicely when asked to do it again. So really happy with him. His next week with me is going to be right outside my arena for maybe a couple of days. Then I'll get him out around my farm, doing some riding where he's going to be introduced to a lot of different stuff under saddle. We'll take him for a ride on his own, so he's comfortable getting ridden on his own, and then we'll introduce him to another one of his mates, another colt he came in with, so they can just start pairing up and riding together, and we'll start progressing him from there. But happy with how he is, and we'll try and keep the videos coming so he can keep up to speed with his learning and how he is physically, and you can sort of follow how he's developing and how he's learning both mentally and how he's holding himself and developing physically as well. But happy with how he is at this stage, and yeah, he's turning into a real pleasure to work with.